Hello there, welcome back to the High Elves Abridged, where last time we got stuck in against Isengard, fighting a couple of decisive field battles, where we took down the first couple of their armies, but they've got like 10 more, so we haven't made that much progress, although we did take 2 minor territories. We also finally got a bridge battle after a lot of waiting for it, and took down 1 enemy army. Wasn't even that good in the end. And if you wanted to relive the experience, you're in luck, because the start of this part is that thing just happening again. At the same bridge, we face another Isengard army moving north. We'll just stand around and bombard them, but I need to try and in particular take out these fearsome looking armoured trolls who are strolling towards us. You can see what I'm trying to do here is select them, but so far I'm having no luck. I wanted to get my ballistas and catapults to specifically fire at them, but the mouse cursor was only able to detect the stuff underneath them because everything's so close together, I guess. So it messed up, although we did take out about half of the trolls on their way across the bridge, I think, just firing into the crowd. So that's good stuff. And of course we're taking out part of the crowd as well. You can see many of their units are already at shaken morale by the time they've made it to our side of the bridge, so that's a good start. And here's me finally realizing I can pause the game and zoom in to find some pixels that allow me to specifically target the trolls. A little bit too late, but yes, we did kill most of them before they got in amongst our ranks and started doing too much damage. Then we just wait and rely on that thing I mentioned last time, the magical effect of bridge battles, where the enemy seem to have lower morale than usual and just rout more easily than they usually do. And you can see in the bottom right, we're already starting to tick up the captures as units rout while they're in the melee and then either fight to the death and just glitch out, or try to run through your units to retreat behind you for some reason, and then they die because of that. A bit later, pretty much all of the first wave is gone, but there is another wave because they had another army coming onto the field. Now that they're in trouble because they're in smaller groups and we're still bombarding them with a bunch of arrows and siege attacks, they'll be dead soon enough, and in fact, as they cross, they pretty much rout on contact, and then, as I said, rout through us, meaning that's a whole bunch of free captures, and even if they do get past us, we've got the cav ready to chase things down. So the second army isn't going to do very well, even worse than the first army, and what we found is after they started sending a couple of units forwards, the ones at the back started withdrawing. You can see them on the minimap there, going back towards the corner of the map. Some clever stuff from the AI. They realise that this isn't going to happen, although they're still crossing with a few units. I guess they kind of commit to the attack, but then other stuff that's not committed has the ability to withdraw. I realised everything was running away too late and didn't really catch up to them. Their ballista crew that was over there got away as well. So just grabbed a couple of extra kills towards the end, and that brings the fight to its conclusion. Again, it's not the absolute slaughter I actually wanted from a bridge battle. It doesn't go that differently to a field battle, it's just safe. You're pretty much guaranteed to get like this result where you lose 100 guys, just because you do have to hold the enemy in place with your melee troops while they rout. But maybe in a field battle you could get something similar by killing their commander really early on and using the added maneuverability you get from being in the field. Overall though, our bridge defense has taken down 2 full stacks and a bit of the enemy for a couple of hundred losses, so that's a pretty good exchange. Looks like an army was going for Barad Vin there, but it doesn't lay siege, they're just standing there, so we'll look at that in a second. And our reinforcements now arrive at this bridge, so I can form up with my best foot forward. However, actually advancing here isn't necessarily the best idea, because there is another army coming up the road. They have a lot of troops, Isengard suffice to say. So I thought maybe I'll just stand there some more and maybe get another bridge battle going. Then I spotted an opportunity over in the west that we'll want to take advantage of. It looks like that army that didn't bother besieging Barad Vin might be waiting around because the army that was at Lond-Dare is moving up there as well. So that seems to be the AI's focus, but they've left behind some guys standing outside Lond-Dare, so the army I had hanging around nearby ready to attack can make this attack with a classic siege drawout. The balance bar's not actually that good despite low enemy numbers, because this is our worst army that we have in the field, but it still should be enough for the business here. It would have been possible to fight the first army or the reinforcement army on their own in this fight, but I'm not being very aggressive, just standing around doing some skirmishing here. Since we are doing a siege drawout, it's nice to let the enemy group up in the middle, so it's a long way for them to run to the edge of the map basically. We skirmish with those crossbows and don't do very well because the crossbows are armoured up, so arrows don't seem to do much back to them. We need crossbows of our own, really, but unfortunately we haven't invented them yet in all our wisdom. At least, once finally things are in position, I can charge forwards and get things going, and I'm being very careful and conscious to make sure all of our cav are around the back of the enemy in case they start running off in other directions. Now we just wait to win, as our announcer claims we are going to. We've got the advantage on the balance bar, and we're getting some good sniping there from our siege weapons. Since the enemy's formation has stretched really far back for some reason, we can fire into them without all that much friendly fire, so that's good stuff. We take out the enemy's general, or one of their two captains, on the left wing among the wargs, I think, and of course those troops will soon fold in to attack the back of the main blob. And really that's the battle won. At some point we also take out the other captain, and that's going to be victory secured. Not quite everything routing at this point, but they're low enough in morale that we'll just run into them and finish them off. We can see a lot of the stuff that is routing is very handily routing forwards through our front lines. Usually pretty good, but they've also managed to get through with a lot of guys, so we do have to turn around and run after them. I think I even ordered some of the siege crews to do it. And here is the eventual result. We did lose stuff since those grinds weren't very good and we're not using our best troops, but they didn't last very long and the enemy lost everything, including the settlement, so that worked out pretty well. Now we can sit behind the walls and glow at the enemy's main force now stuck outside. Actually failed a mission for doing that since I was supposed to blockade the port of this place. And on that topic, we do actually have our ships newly arriving from Mithlond. You might remember ages ago I set off a fleet with some remnants of our Mithlond army, and they've arrived now at this Londare place, so I can use the port I was supposed to blockade to land them. I was considering going further down the coast to land them somewhere more annoying, but figured it'd be better to keep stuff vaguely together. So instead they're going to sit in this fort and we'll just see what we want to do with them. As for the fleet, I actually can go on to do some port blockading because Isengard are trading from ports further down the coast. Not really sure what difference it makes to be blockading them, but presumably that's going to keep one unit or something of upkeep's worth of money out of Isengard's coffers. Might help. Probably paying a lot more to upkeep our fleet though, to be fair. Anyway, now we're moving on to the Eastern Front's next attack. I decide to go and try to help the Wood Elves who are in trouble over there, Lothlorien I should say, technically different to the Wood Elves. And my main force is going to continue its march south, even though we do actually see a new enemy army in our path. We can go around them, and I wanted to do that to take out this guy, Lurtz, the heir to Isengard's faction, is sitting in this very poorly defended town, so it's a chance to make sure we kill him. He can't retreat from this one. Balance bar was pretty good, so I just auto-resolved, especially having seen recently that doing these things manually doesn't go all that well, since the towers do pick up a bunch of kills in those battles, even when there are barely any enemies. So the result was fair enough, and there we go. Now Lurtz, probably their best commander after Saruman, is dead. If we can find Saruman, by the way, we could just take out Isengard as a faction, so that would be nice if he would show his head. Back at the bridge, I decided to have my backup army just lock the place down, and the main army is going to move out because we've stood here for too long. We need to make some progress. So I go and hide them in some trees on the way to the next enemy settlement, which is to the southwest of the bridge, and I'm going to scramble to get anything else I can find to go and help out at the bridge as well. Lothlorien asked me to come and help them with their fight against the Uruks at that settlement I was going for, so that's good, but it's another one of these cases where I agreed to help them but no battle appears to take place, or at least no battle in which I'm allowed to participate. Looks like our allies won, so that's good anyway. Then in Isengard's turn, looks like it was a good thing to have left the backup army on the bridge, because a big army does go for it, so we have yet another bridge battle on this same bridge. This time our army is not going to be as good as before, but at least the enemy don't have any siege equipment, so none of that hassle, going to be a pure blob grind at the bridgehead, and we do have a couple of good units here. They start crossing the bridge, and now we just pray to the RNG gods that the catapults will hit things. Looks like this first volley doesn't do all that much, going for the distance and the sides of the bridge. The arrows should be hitting something at least. When they do hit though, when the enemy are super bunched up, there are some very juicy hits indeed. You can take out huge groups of enemies. As they come in, they're going to get closer and closer, which in theory means the catapults will be more accurate, although in practice they seem to have a kind of set amount of inaccuracy and just shoot all over the place. We've got some of our good pikes holding the line at the front of the bridge, so they should pick up some kills. And now we wait and hope the catapults give us something juicy right here. When they do hit juicy shots, it's extra good because it makes a very wet and very loud noise, so you know something good's happened. The pressure causes the leading unit to rout already, that's what we like to see. And as before, they're going to rout sideways, and I've got units already waiting down the riverbank to attack guys as they try to escape. Actually not routing quite into our troops like some of the earlier cases, so they're more likely to survive, but in this case, they're not going to survive. Anyway, now we just wait, and the only thing to do is to watch the fight and look for more particularly juicy slams into the enemy's depths. And there's a couple right there. So they're going to be taking massive losses, and that balance bar's evened out now, and there are plenty of low morale units now at the very front. We just wait for them to die some more and make more contact with our units to get that hidden morale debuff. There's me almost killing all of my elite troops there with a catapult volley. Good stuff. Or maybe they were just being extremely accurate and they knew what they were doing. That would be very elven of them. Anyway, as you can see, we have killed most stuff. All that stuff has routed into us, and all of our cav down the river has taken out anything that escaped the battle. Here's the eventual result, losing just over 100 troops as we've seen many times recently, and killing a couple of thousand of enemies. That's what we like to see. Down goes another army at that bridge. But maybe Isengard still aren't done with this, because yet more troops begin coming up the road and forming up in front of us. There isn't another attack, but they've got another army's worth of stuff there by the end of the turn, so maybe they do want to. They're also focusing on this Barad Finn place. We see now there are 3 armies closing in on it. The one that was closest strangely walks away a little bit, but yes, we're now rather surrounded there. For some reason they're really focusing this location down. In response, I decided to leave just 1 unit in the castle and move all of the troops to go sit on the nearby bridge. The logic here is that if all 3 enemy armies do a siege attack, we'll end up fighting in multiple directions, whereas if all 3 armies attack the bridge, everything's always in one direction, so we can choke point them more. The siege defences probably wouldn't be that good against so many enemies. To the south, I needed to decide what to do with my army at Londare. One option, of course, would be to go north to help out with that gathering enemy force, but I decided to do my usual go aggressive strategy, because I've also discovered that the next settlement over to the east is only lightly defended, so we're going to set up to attack there instead and just keep conquering territory, keep attacking weakly defended points, and ignore the enemy's armies Sun Tzu style. But I do have this backup army, and with them I decided to move them northwards to see if we could use them in the future. Basically, maybe they'll be able to go up and help out with the dangerous situation up there. I immediately realised that I've moved too far, because if their big army came back it could defeat me. But in theory, that enemy stack doesn't know I'm there, because the AI shouldn't have line of sight on that location. But I'm not sure the AI actually plays by the rules when it comes to line of sight. Anyway, now we can move our hidden force out to attack this very lightly defended castle/town right here. In we move, it is a castle in fact. We're doing pretty good for capturing territory now, it's just that there are lots of enemy armies that are technically quite far behind our lines as our lines have rapidly advanced. I wanted to look around and see if there's anything else about to attack the castle. Not really, but of course one of the 4 or so armies already in our line of sight might show up. What I decided to do is again leave just 1 unit in the castle and move everything out to be in an ambush position on the road to the castle, thinking those 2 stacks up the road might come back this way now and try to counterattack, and we'll try and ambush them. In the east, the army I walked past earlier has gone to stand on a bridge to our north, so I decided to rush back after them and attack them, since while they are on that bridge we can turn this thing into a bridge defense. Technically it's the opposite, a bridge attack, but as you may know, any bridge attack can be turned into a bridge defense. In fact, I think I've done it in this campaign right at the start. You just have to outrange the enemy, and of course our army is perfect for this, so we just need to move down to the bridgehead here, which is quite difficult due to some hidden impassable terrain, but once our men are in position, we just wait, fire arrows onto the other side, and this will gradually make the enemy angry. It takes a while. I think you have to kill a certain percentage of them before the overall enemy AI decides to stop being defensive. But it does happen eventually. Here they are running across the bridge. They're leaving all of their wargs behind as well, which is quite nice. and we're going to hit them with this deluge of arrows and hope we grab some kills. There are plenty of things like pikemen and Baneguard in there, which don't have much shield stats, so should be weak against that. Now we just have to awkwardly form up in the places we're allowed to stop the enemy. Then they'll be stuck below our archers for the rest of the battle, and the sheer density of the arrows hitting this blob looks pretty good. We're probably killing a bunch of them, kind of hard to tell. We do have a ballista as well. Unfortunately, for the most part it's just shooting into the back of our own troops, so I'm going to order them to fire over the river instead. And using the zoom on the minimap, I can determine which of these warg units is their commander and focus on attacking them first. But firing the ballista over there does cause the wargs to come and join the blob. That's fine though, because they're nice big targets for our rain of arrows to take out, and they're not particularly strong against arrows either. So that's going to rack us up the kills. And really we have the enemy right where we want them. Now it's just a case of waiting for this to work. We don't have that much in the way of melee troops because this army's seen so many battles that they're basically dead by this point, and we're going to lose a whole load more fighting this big enemy blob. This isn't exactly a perfect strategy. Some of them do break through, but we've got loads of cav and horse archers who can stop them getting anywhere, and we are seeing a lot of routes and stuff happen here, so it's all good. Their captain routes and then gets captured at some point up on the hill, and that's going to move this battle towards the closing point. There are some things that hold on for a while, but eventually we grind our way down this awkward hill, avoiding all of the impassable, invisible terrain, including the road itself, strangely enough, and we get this final result. We did actually lose a decent amount of stuff there. The enemy army's dead, but our army's looking a bit more dead, and this army is like 30-40 turns march away from reinforcement points. So really losses in this army do matter a bit more than in other forces. At least with that army gone, I've got some peace of mind, and I figured I'll take my weaker force and actually march them off to the southeast like I planned a while ago. However, on the way, we do spot some more Uruk forces nearby, enough to make me go back and stand on this bridge for protection. The issue is that if I stand on this bridge, that elven army, which looks like it's about to move out, won't be able to walk past me, so I'm sort of stopping my allies actually helping in the war by standing here. But it's still worth it to protect our army since we're not getting those guys back anytime soon. Then in the Isengard turn, they start coming at us. This Heorot place is put under siege by the army that I think was the one going towards the bridge. Then one of the armies from up to the northwest comes back and walks right past my ambush. I really thought that was going to work, but the ambush didn't trigger, so that's a shame. Baradvin is put under siege by the guys coming down the riverside. Then the other army annoyingly crosses the river and just walks over there. So my plan of defending the bridge up there by the river has totally backfired. Now the enemy have just moved past us and set us under siege, so we're going to have to just react to that. So more guys come over and interestingly manage to relieve the siege of Heorot by forcing the besieging army to move out of the way. Not quite sure what happened there, but still, the place is surrounded by enemies. I've got a few reinforcements coming down from Kara Skeledhorn, so they can back up my backup force here on the eastern front, and the main force will start moving south. Now that things are looking a bit clearer, I'm going to go for my main goal. There are a few enemies on the way, but not very much on the route to Onadrith, which is my target there, one of the massive regions that makes up Rohan. Taking that will make things look a lot better for us at least. Now this western situation is a bit more awkward, because at Alkford here, the place I was going to take because it was barely defended, there's now a gigantic army that's appeared, so we're not so likely to go down and take it, especially because there is another 2/3 stack just to their south as well. The area is quite built up. We need to do something about that siege, and the most likely thing to do is to just use our nearby army to go for a straight up field battle. Same thing at Heorot really, but I was kind of looking around thinking, is there anything more fancy we can do, because taking straight up field battles won't be very good for our longevity, but in this case there aren't many other options. It did occur to me that one thing we could try is actually ending the war right now, because then I could wait 10 turns or something and gradually bring down new melee troops to fill out our field armies and make them a bit healthier, and then restart the war. That would be quite nice, plus it allows me to control public order, which is not that good at the moment. However, offering these guys all sorts of lavish deals didn't tempt them, so we're just going to cut that out. We didn't get the ceasefire. We need to actually deal with this situation. one move I can make is take my force on that bridge, link up with those reinforcements coming down over here, and just have a force that's behind our lines to deal with the enemy force behind our lines by hunting them down and reacting to whatever they do, seeking a field battle. What we do with the force marching towards Alkford kind of depends what happens at Barad Vin first, so we're going to focus on that now. We've got a backup army which can help both situations, so the only strategic thing we can do is decide what to do with these troops. The army at Barad Vin only has space for 2 more units in it, in terms of manual control. So given that, I'm going to take 2 units out of this reinforcement army and send them to help out in the upcoming battle at Barad Vin, grabbing this fort along the way, and Isengard are particularly annoyed apparently about losing that fort. But anyway, this allows us to set up for this siege relief battle, leaving the rest of the forces behind to do something else depending on how well this goes. Pretty much just a standard field battle. This may be fine, I just haven't done it yet, so not quite sure what the result will be or where we're going with this. So why don't you join me next time for what is essentially the try not to be too overextended challenge, as we need to take down these billions of Isengard armies and then either end the war or do this in such a way that we have tons of troops left over and can counterattack. We'll see.